Good morning, kids.
Hello, everybody.
I am Mr. Shea. I am Danny's pop, and I am one of your mystery readers today.
And I am Mrs. Shea. I am Danny's mom, and I'm the other mystery reader today. And we are excited to read one of our favorite books, The Seven Silly Eaters.
Look at those drawings. Mary Ann Hoberman, and illustrated, you know that means the person that did the pictures, by Marla Frazee, who drew the pictures. Oh boy. All right. Not so long ago, they say, a mother lived just like today. Mrs. Peters was her name. Her little boy was named the same. Now Peter was a perfect son in every way except for one. There she is playing the cello. And the baby does look pretty perfect.
When Peter was just 1 year old, he did not like his milk served cold. He did not like his milk served hot. He liked it warm, and he would not drink it if he was not sure it was the proper temperature. But Mrs. Peters did not mind. She was a mother sweet and kind, and when his milk spilt on the floor, she patiently prepared some more. She'd take the bottle from the shelf and chuckle softly to herself. Oh, what a silly sort of eater is my darling baby Peter. Look at how happy that mom is, just making more milk.
When Peter had not yet turned 2, another baby, sweet and new, was born. Dear Lucy, small and fair, with big blue eyes and curly hair. But long before this child was grown, she had opinions of her own, what she'd eat and what she'd not. She hated milk, both cold and hot, and warm was worst of all. Instead, what Lucy dear was fed, she bellowed for pink lemonade, not from a can, oh no, homemade. Look at her there. It looks like she's bellowing right there.
But Mrs. Peters didn't mind. She squeezed each lemon to its rind while mopping milk up from the floor and patiently preparing more. She'd take the lemons from the shelf and giggle softly to herself. What a silly pair of eaters are Lucy dear and Peter Peters. There they are.
Now Lucy grew and Peter grew, till he was 3 and she was 2. And who was one? Why, little Jack, with eyes so brown and hair so black, a happy baby, never cross, but all he'd eat was applesauce. Peeling apples by the pound, Mrs. Peters faintly frowned. She'd take the apples from the shelf and murmur weakly to herself, what a silly bunch of eaters are Lucy, Jack, and Peter Peters. There she is. Jack has a crown on his head, and he's pulling Lucy in the wagon, and she also has a crown on her head, and there's all sorts of apples, and Jack does look happy.
Peter, Lucy, and young Jack had another brother, Mac. Mac was charming, round, and plump, but if his oatmeal had a lump, Mac would dump it on the cat. Mrs. Peters hated that.
What?
But since she loved her children 4, she'd strain the oatmeal 2 times more. She'd take it from the pantry shelf and mumble sadly to herself, what a foolish group of eaters are all my precious little Peters.
Look at that picture. There's so much going on in that picture. That's a funny picture. She's just angry about something. Maybe she's bellowing for lemonade still. And who's that with the snowballs? He's up to trouble. Okay. Before another year was through, who came along? Why, Mary Lou. She was a darling, sweet and bright, and she had a healthy appetite. That is, as long as she was fed soft and squishy homemade bread. Yummy. Who doesn't like homemade bread? Poor Mrs. Peters got no rest, but still she did her lively best. She'd take the flour from the shelf and mutter feebly to herself, what a bunch of fussy eaters are my little lovely Peters. What?
Oh, this is a good picture. It's a good picture. A year rolled by, the children grew. They really are a splendid crew, sighed Mrs. Peters, pinning pins and diapering her brand new twins. Little sisters, quick and smart, impossible to tell apart. But Flo liked poached eggs, Fran liked fried. If she mixed them up, they cried. Tired to the very bone, Mrs. Peters groaned a groan. She'd take the eggs down from the shelf and whisper weakly to herself, "What persnickety young eaters are all my 7 little Peters?" Well, let's pull it back a little bit, and then you can see all 7 of the kids.
We missed a good picture from before. Oh boy. All right. Moving on. Now time went by as time will do, and as it passed, the children grew. The problem was that as they grew, their appetites kept growing too. But not their choice of what to eat. Each child continued to repeat. They wanted what they had before. The trouble was they wanted more. They're getting so big. Oh my Lord. Wait. I'll read this page. Creamy oatmeal, lots of it. Homemade bread and lots of it. Peeling apples by the peck. That's how they measure apples. Mrs. Peters was a wreck. Look at her. She looks so tired. Cats are running everywhere. Dogs are running. Frying pans are falling to the ground. Look at their kids in the window like, what in the world? Poor mom.
If you ask Danny, he might say his mom looks like that sometimes. She wiped her brow and heaved a sigh. Another year was passing by. In fact, she realized with sorrow her birthday would arrive tomorrow. Drearily she shook her head and wearily went up to bed. Look at that.
She thought her children had forgot her special day, but they had not. At crack of dawn, they all began to carry out their secret plan. Mrs. Peters would be fed a birthday breakfast in her bed, a breakfast made of all the foods that kept them in such happy moods. There they are planning it. This has got to be 5 or 6 in the morning, and they're all ready to go. They're all so happy to be doing it for their mom, right?
So while their weary mothers slept, down the stairs the children crept, and from the cupboards and the shelves, happily they helped themselves. Cheerily they chopped and stirred, preparing what they each preferred. But despite the pains they took, since nobody knew how to cook, to measure things or make them hot, the more they tried, the worse it got. Look at that.
First, Mac's oatmeal turned out lumpy, which made poor Mac grim and grumpy. In fact, the lumps got him so cross, he dumped them in Jack's applesauce. This bothered Jack so much he threw it in the dough of Mary Lou, who tossed the mishmash that had made straight into Lucy's lemonade. And that put her in such a huff, she poured this icky, sticky stuff into the double frying pan that held the eggs of Flo and Fran, who flung the hodgepodge on the spot right into the milk of Peter's pot. Look, it started here, and he dumps it into there, and Jack's applesauce, and Jack's not happy, so Jack dumps it into Mary Lou's dough, and then that goes into Lucy's lemonade, and then that goes into Flo and Fran's eggs, and then it goes finally into Peter's milk. Yeesh.
Let's see, can you see this as I'm reading this one? But when they saw what they had done, they wished they never had begun. They hardly slept a wink that night, and still things hadn't turned out right. And even though they tried their best, it hadn't worked. They were depressed. They'd be in trouble too, unless they found some place to hide the mess. The oven seemed the perfect spot. They all forgot it still was hot. They stuck the pot inside, and then they all went back to bed again.
That kitchen was a mess. The clock struck 6, but on they slept. Meanwhile, their mother softly stepped down to the kitchen, smelled the smell. What could it be? She could not tell. It smelled so good. She smelled some more, sniffed some more, and opened up the oven door. She woke the children with her cries. They all come running in surprise, and in the kitchen what they found was Mrs. Peters dancing round. And in the oven, no mistake, a pink and plump and perfect cake. Look at these animals down here, the cats and the dogs. Look at their big bellies. You can see their big bellies here. They cleaned up all the food on the ground by licking it off the ground. So it looks clean, but it's pretty gross.
Do you think Mrs. Peters is upset, or do you think what's she gonna do right now? And as their mother danced with glee, she cried, "A birthday cake for me! A birthday cake still piping hot. To think I thought that you forgot. Now tell me, please, how did you make this pink and plump and perfect cake? So high and light and smooth as silk?" "It's smooth as silk from all my milk," said Peter. Lucy said, "It's pink from all my lemonade, I think." "And from my apples," added Jack. "My oatmeal made it soft," said Mac. "My bread dough too," said Mary Lou. Said Fran and Flo, "As for its size, it was our eggs that made it rise." Then everybody snipped some more and danced around the kitchen floor.
Oh boy. They put the cake upon a dish and lit the candles. "Make a wish," the children cried, "before you blow." And Mrs. Peters did just so. And what is more, her wish came true, as birthday wishes always do. Look at that picture. That is a big, happy family. And look at her birthday hat. Isn't that a great birthday hat? It's definitely homemade, right? And it looks like she got something there. And the boys and girls are having so much fun. They're all excited for their cake.
And from that day to this, 'tis said, the Peters family all is fed. A single simple meal, just one, a meal that's good for everyone. A meal on which they all agree, made from their secret recipe. They all took turns in mixing it, they all took turns in fixing it. It's thick to beat and quick to bake. It's fine to eat and fun to make. Look at them all working together.
She's playing the cello again.
Mrs. Peters doesn't have to do it all by herself anymore. Everybody's helping out. It's Mrs. Peters' birthday cake.
Boys and girls, thanks so much for having us.
Thanks for letting us come and be mystery readers. Have a great day.
Quick surprise, or quick extra story. The student of mine who gave me this book actually tried to make this cake with this recipe, and it wasn't very good.
Have a great day. Thank you, Mrs. Lucier and
Bye,
Miss
Danny.
Edwards,
Love
for letting
you.
us do this. Bye-bye.